Elon Musk doing today? What did Thomas Edison do? That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at people that have been a part of creating dynasties and changing the way that the future was. I really believe that if you want to achieve whatever it is, you have to go to the people that have done it at the highest level. If you want to achieve the highest level of fitness, Arnold might be a great person to study. And Elon and Jeff are two people that I can look up to. That's about it. And how do I do that? I study the hell out of them. Do not fall into temptation. Be an ethical human being and a productive member of society. Figure out how to make money and do it with a purpose. And I promise you, you will be successful. And just know, if it's hard, that's fucking good. Just keep going. Do the best for planet Earth. Do something that God is going to be proud of while still making a lot of money and having a vehicle that is big enough to actually make me the richest person on planet Earth.
All right, we are here today this is Kicking Ass Taking Names podcast, and today we are here with a very special guest, Zain Jan, CEO of Better Earth. This guy is one of the most ambitious, youngest people that I've ever seen. And today we're going to learn more about his story. We're going to learn about his background, and we're going to learn how he has built a company from zero to, you guys are going to break what? 400 million?
Yes.
$400 million. So if you want to learn, stay tuned. All right. Well, Zain, thank you so much for being here today.
Appreciate you having me, man. Very excited to be here.
Dude, I'm so pumped just because I know how much knowledge like you have, and even just what we were talking about before we got started. I'm already thinking like the way that you set it up. I really want to hear about that. But for everybody in the audience, I'm sure more people are going to learn about you, and we're going to promote the heck out of this. So
love it.
Let's get the showdown or lowdown on who you are, man.
Yeah, man. So I'll just start from the beginning. So I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. I grew up in a small town. It was outside of Boston, about 15 minutes out. And I'm born to two immigrant parents, both of which didn't speak any English. So my dad was a taxi driver. My mom worked layaway in the back of retail stores. So that was my entire kind of childhood upbringing, was seeing my parents do that. They never really progressed. They never really grew. They kind of stayed in the same roles. They had a fixed mindset, and they wanted to earn income. My parents never made over 25 to 30 grand a year. But growing up, I always knew the importance of money because I saw my parents struggle. Every single time they would fight, my dad would come home and he'd be, pissed at my mom because she went out and she bought these groceries and the milk was too expensive. And why did you buy this? And why did you buy that? And then my mom would argue with my dad. And dude, it was just a constant battle over money. And growing up, it was a huge problem for me because I hated coming home to these arguments, but it was always around the concept of money. So at a young age, 4 years old, I knew that money was the most important thing for me because I saw my parents fight about it. And I knew when we had money, my parents didn't fight. And when we didn't have money, my parents were going to fight. So that was the first goal I had. The next thing was I lived in a 500 square foot project. So I live in a town called Weymouth, Massachusetts. Weymouth, Massachusetts was essentially a place where, if you just look at it, there's nothing special there. It's actually the second highest Irish population in the United States. The reason is a lot of people went to Ireland. They went to South Boston from Ireland. And then in South Boston, it started getting more expensive. So South Boston used to be known as like the baddest part of Boston. It's where all the Irish people came in. Whitey Bulger, the mafia, killings, like that was South Boston. And then as South Boston started getting more expensive because it got gentrified, you'd have college students move in there from these different Ivy League schools. So prices started going up. So a lot of these people from South Boston actually moved to Weymouth, Massachusetts. And that's where I grew up. A little bit about Weymouth. It's not like the hood, but it's not anything nice. I grew up in the lowest income bracket. Today I'm in arguably the highest income bracket.
Right.
0.001%. And then for my age, I'm 0.0000001%.
Yeah.
I started completely opposite. Legitimately on the other side of the fence. Because when my parents first moved here, I say 25 to 30 grand on our good years, right? At the beginning, it was 8,000 a year, 9,000 a year, 10,000 a year. So we were really like, here's the poverty line. We were like a little bit under it. And we were lucky because we had government assistance and different things to help with the rent and whatnot. So if we were living in an apartment that was, $900 a month, we were probably paying $400 a month just with government assistance. So my entire life was that. And as I grew up, I just wanted to work. So I remember just being a young kid walking outside of our project building, and there was these maintenance guys that used to work there. There was a guy named John, and I still remember very vividly until this day. He was basically patching up some concrete on the floor. He was putting some tiles down, and I went over there and I was like, "Can I work for you and can I help for you for the day?" He kind of sort of chuckled and laughed, but he's like, "All right, kid, come and help me." I helped him out for the day, and he gave me like $1 or $2. To me, that was a high. I was like, "Oh my God, I can put in my effort and then I get this money." And I remember I would take back the money. I had like $2 or $3 bills, and I was just counting it every single day, making sure no one took my money. I'd smell the money. I'd love the smell of it. And it was really interesting to me. Then my dad would come back home every night as a taxi driver. And back then it was mostly cash payment. So my dad would come back and he basically would count his money every day. He'd stack it up in a pile. And then every Friday he would take it to the bank and he would deposit it in and he'd put it inside of his bank account. So my dad would always have this huge wad of cash and he would put it in the back of his pocket. So every single day coming home, when my dad came home, I'd see him count the cash. I'd ask him to help him. And then he would put his money inside the back of his jeans pocket. He'd go inside of the bathroom where it was a small little, 30 square foot probably bathroom. It was very old, crappy, dingy. There was bugs on the floor. It just wasn't nice at all. We would go in there and I would take out the cash and I would just love counting it. I was obsessed with counting it. I didn't know why, but I knew that I had this habit and this obsession over money. And as I grew older, I realized it was just, I always attached good experiences in my life to money, because anytime we went anywhere and had a good experience, whether it was a local restaurant, which at the time we'd go to a restaurant like once or twice a year and it was a really big deal. And looking back on it, it was restaurants the caliber of Olive Garden. And that was like a 5-star experience to me. So I would see my parents pay and I was like, oh my God, you attach money to that good experience. And that's what excited me. So as I grew older, I didn't know how to make money. And my parents always told me, Zain, if you want to be successful, the only way that you can achieve that is through the modern education system. I hated the modern education system. I'd go to school every single day. I'd get in fights. I'd get in arguments. I hated my teachers. I'd get kicked out of classes. I'd get suspended in school and out of school. I'd get the threat of what's it called? Expulsion, always, constantly. So my parents were going through so many issues because they would come back home and they would say, well, Zain has this problem. We got a call from your teacher today. Or, hey, we, went to your school and they gave us this pink slip because you're in trouble again. And that really bothered me because I just hated the rules and the system. But my parents told me that I wouldn't be successful if I continued down the same path that I was going in. So I ended up just basically accepting the fact one day that maybe I'm not going to be successful because I'm not good at the school thing. And at this time, there's no such thing as people around me that have financial success. The most wealthy person around me that has financial success is someone that's in a trade. They're like a plumber, they're a carpenter, they're a firefighter, they're a police officer in that town. That's kind of like the top of the town. Everybody else works in some low-level job, whether it's working in a 7-Eleven or a Stop and Shop, Quick Mart, whatever it may be. So when I looked at that, I knew that that's not who I was. I was not some guy who was going to go under a sink and do some plumbing. I wasn't going to do electrical work. I wasn't going to be on a roof installing a roof. That just wasn't who I was. So as I got older, I'm like, what are different ways that I can make money? And then I saw drugs. So I first started doing drugs between 13 and 14 years old. Wow. And then I first started selling drugs at 14 years old. First thing I ever did was I picked up an ounce of weed, went and sold it. It was $150 I picked it up for. It was $200 I sold it for, made a $50 spread. And that was my first experience of actually making real money that excited me. As I got older, that went from making a little bit of money to a full-blown, again, looking back, still super small numbers, but at that time feeling like I'm Pablo Escobar. I'm running a drug empire. So I have my scales at home. I have my little baggies at home, and I'm just doing the game, making money. And by the end of high school, I'm making thousands of dollars a month selling drugs. As I get older, I know that I need to become more successful, and a hustler is not what I want to be. So miraculously, I get into some college. Looking back at the backstory, my mom had a stroke. That stroke led me to want to go to college because when she came out of her coma after 6 months and 2 years of rehab, that was her number one dream. So even though I absolutely hated school, I knew that that's what I needed to do. So I ended up going to college. I somehow got in. I had a 2.0 GPA. I got into a school with a 3.5 average. And when I got in, I went back into business. So I was doing a little bit of real estate, doing a little bit of club promoting, and then doing a little bit of drugs. And I would pair those three things together to make money because I had the same exact client, which was a student at that school who liked to party, who needed to live somewhere off of campus, and who liked to do drugs. And those were my three kind of niches. Then, as I was going through my first year of college, I looked at myself in the mirror one day and I realized I am a broke, pathetic bum. That's how I felt. I felt absolutely like a broke joke, and I felt like a hustler who had zero purpose. And I knew that that's not why God created me. So I kind of looked at myself one day and said, I'm doing coke every day. I'm doing drugs every day. I'm drinking every day. I'm hanging around a bunch of low-level fucking degenerate losers. How do I actually leave this environment and go towards something that will actually give me full success? And as I kind of went through that first year of college, I one day made the decision to go completely sober. I dropped every drug. I never sipped a single sip of alcohol, and I just went forward. So I was completely sober at the end of my college, career, my first year in college. Then I got a call from a friend one day, and he's like, we have this crazy opportunity called solar. It's an unbelievable opportunity. You have to join it. I made $20,000 last week. I said, bullshit. Show me that it got deposited in your bank account, and then I'll come and work with you. He showed me that deposit into his Bank of America account. I still remember until this day, and that was the reason I went and I joined solar. I ended up joining solar. I saw a quote by Warren Buffett where he said, the largest transformation of wealth in history is going to be in the deregulation of energy. And that's what caused me to go all into solar. I basically looked back. I deleted all the contacts out of my phone of anyone that I knew from my past. And I said, today, Zain is going to reinvent himself. He's going to be a completely new Zain. And I went to knock doors. First day ever knocking doors, I was wearing a full three-piece suit, knocking doors in Massachusetts in the hot summer, probably 95-degree weather, absolutely sweating bullets. And after that first day, I realized you don't wear suits when you knock door to door. Next day, I changed my attire, and I just went knocking doors and doors and doors. And for the first couple of weeks, I had no sales. I had no traction. I had no one listening to me. I just had a hope and a dream that one day I would get really good at this thing and it could convert into real money. So as I got older in that kind of career of sales, I started to make more money. First year in, I make my first six figures. Second year in, I make, 3, 4, 500 grand. So now we're getting up there. Third year in, holy shit, I'm making $1 million a year. So that was really crazy to me about door to door. As I progressed, I went from being a salesperson to then a sales leader to then an executive, a chief revenue officer at a company. Did that for 3 years. And after doing that for 3 years, essentially for someone else with a different vision and dream than me, I decided to start Better Earth. So fast forward today, Better Earth is one of the largest residential solar installers in the United States. We have over 600 W-2 employees, over 3,000 sales contractors, over 71 companies that sell under us. And our mission is to go global. I don't just want to be in the United States. I want to power up every single home across planet Earth, not only be the largest enterprise in the solar industry, but be the largest enterprise in the world. The reason I want to do that is not just because I'm obsessed with solar panels. I believe that when you give people the freedom to have their own electricity and control their power, you are giving them the highest form of freedom other than financial freedom, right? Financial freedom, you can do whatever you want. You can go wherever you want. Outside of that, well, you need basic utilities. And when you go to other countries, even people with financial freedom, I remember I would notice that they would get controlled by the government. If they did something that the government didn't like, the government could turn off their power. And that's how I started to realize that in other parts of the world, in the United States, we just look at electricity. As long as we make that payment every single month, we get that power. Now, we have no control over that payment. It could go up. Right now, you could be paying $300 a month for power, and completely legally, your utility company could bump that up to $1,000 a month, and you could do nothing about it. And it is always going to be the first bill that you pay, because before you pay your rent and before they can haul your ass out of there, right? You got a sheriff coming to your house to haul your ass out. You have, multiple notices, court. It's hard to actually kick someone out of their house even if they're not paying rent. But power, it's a switch of a button and I can turn you off. So that's always people's first payment. And that's how governments can control people. So I realized that, and that really further grew my mission of why I wanted to build a big solar company and be successful. And as I got older, I started to make more money. I started to meet more people. I started to travel the world, became friends with billionaires and people that were high net worth individuals. And I realized everyone had the same thing. We had access to information that other people don't have. So today, I have very simple goals. It's not complicated, but they are very large goals, and they are things that I will do until the day I die. Number one is electrify the planet and give people independence over their power, because I truly believe that is the highest form of power that anyone can own. Number two is financial. People don't have money, and people don't know how to make money. People don't have vehicles and opportunities. I believe that every single man and woman out there should do sales if they do not have money, because if you do sales, you will make money as long as you master the art of communication. Doesn't matter if you're introverted. It doesn't matter if you're extroverted. I was on a podcast the other day where someone said to me, Zain, I'm introverted. And I was like, oh, haha, you thought you were introverted. He's like, no, I'm introverted. And I thought to myself, I'm like, dude, no one's introverted. We're all born, quote unquote, introverted. It's how do we actually, go out there and communicate? Right. And do we label ourselves that? A lot of times when people are born, they point at them and they're like, oh, little Jimmy, you're introverted. Now Jimmy goes out through his entire life saying that he's introverted because his mom, when he was young, told him that he was introverted. For me, it was completely opposite. I wanted to go out there and I didn't want anyone to label me. And that's the reason I'm successful today, because no one could call me stupid. No one could call me dumb. No one could call me lazy. I made my own destiny happen. I made my own future. And I believe that the only thing stopping people from succeeding is they don't have access to that information and they don't have a vehicle to make money. So my goal is to go out there and give people that vehicle and teach them how to break away from this system that's been controlling them for years and years, thinking that they can't make money, and show them the possibility of what money can do. Because I do believe money is a good, if used for the proper thing, and if it's used by the right people, it is the best force of good. It is a resource that can make you more successful and can better the planet. If used by the wrong people, it can put us in the wrong direction. And I believe today, most of the people that have money, they actually are in the wrong direction. And I believe if we can get more good people with good intent and good spirits to have money, we can control and change the world. So I want to go out there and I want to teach that to people. So just by doing those things, that's really kind of what my life mission is, and things that I'll do forever.
So let's break it down, because I think that for everybody listening, they're gonna think, okay, well, it's so easy to say that, right? Like, he's worth $400 million, or his company's worth $400 million. I mean, let's go back to the beginning. When you started, I noticed two things that I can hear in the tone of your voice that you're really focused on, which is like extreme discipline and extreme focus. Like, you're really focused on that one vision and that one goal, and that you're building that. But for a lot of people, like, they don't have that direction, right? Like, not everybody's going to say like, oh, I'm interested in solar, or I'm interested in sales. I want to do it in a different route. But I think that the discipline and all of the other attributes transfer over, right? So I want to go into kind of like the psychology behind it, because I think that those are some of the best, like, when I'm in front of somebody who's accomplished so much, like, my goal is to figure out the psychology behind the motivation why they do it, right? Like, yeah. I know you don't need a reason why to get up and, and eat food, right? Like, we're naturally driven to eat food. You don't need a reason why to drink water, but you need a strong vision and a reason why. Like, for example, I just watched the Arnold documentary. I don't know if you saw that. It just came out on Netflix.
Yeah.
And, one thing that he said is, and this guy, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of the most successful guys of all time, right? And this guy is extremely disciplined. I mean, like, 7 hours in the gym, working out, like, going just crazy, building every single muscle, gets to the top, realizes that he, keeps winning, then all of a sudden gets second place and is like crying all night. He's been winning and winning and winning, and he doesn't realize that there's always another mountain to climb. There's always another level. So I think you being a future-based person, because I could tell you right now, like, I could already see it and I know it, and all entrepreneurs are kind of like focused on the future. So if it's easier, let's talk about the future, right? Like, I know where you're at right now, but where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And how are you going to get there? Right? Because everything you've done so far to this point could bring you to where you are today. But where you want to go next is going to take a whole new level of you, right?
Yeah, putting myself into uncomfortable situations is my game every day. That's what I want to do. I do not want to ever be in a situation where I feel like it's easy for me. Because the minute that things get easy, they get really boring. And I'm someone who needs to constantly be in an environment where I'm being pushed to the highest level. So for my growth in business, people say it's been extremely fast. But the thing that they don't understand is I have just gone through so much shit over and over and over again and never quit. And as long as you don't quit, you always end up succeeding. That is probably the best life, advice that I ever got early on was, Zain, if you don't quit, you're going to be successful. And if you quit, you're not going to be successful. And it was so practical and simple. So in whatever I do in my life, I know as long as I don't quit, I will be successful. And if I quit, I failed. And I don't have failure in my blood. So for me, the reason I got success wasn't because I was special. I had no connections. I didn't have daddy's money. I didn't have someone out there to help me. The only reason that I was able to achieve success was because I kept going. People always say, Zain, what are your skill sets? I tell them my number one skill set is if you take a hammer and you hit it up against a concrete wall, most people will stop. I never stop banging against that concrete wall until I break it and get to the other side. The reason is because, again, my fundamental formula in life is not quitting. So when I look at the future, I look at everything that I have going on, and then I analyze myself, and I go, where am I weak? I'm good at communication compared to most people, but am I the best? No. I can be a better communicator. I'm good at business compared to most people, but am I really good? No. Look at the CEO of Tesla. Look at the CEO of Amazon. Look at the CEO of Microsoft. Look at these titans of the world that are building some of the largest corporations on planet Earth. What do they have that I don't have? And that's what I look at every single day. Physical. I know not even close to being in the best shape that I possibly could be. So I have to work on that every single day. So what I do is, instead of focusing on what am I good at, I focus on what am I not the best at yet. And I look at every category in my life and I realize I'm not the best at everything. There's always people that are going to be better than me. And I don't like that. That pisses me off. So every day, that's what I focus on.
Right.
I say, why do I suck at that? Why do I suck at this? And I compare myself to the number one in each part of the world. So if I'm looking at the number one communicator, right, I want to be like that person. I'm going to study that person. If I'm looking at the number one person in fitness, I'm going to study that person. If I'm looking at the number one business person on planet Earth, I'm going to study that person. And I will not stop until I achieve that success. And going back to that quote, the only way that you can fail is if you quit. And I will never quit achieving this goal of being the best version of myself.
Right.
And that's what the focus is every day. There's no one specific thing of I can't wait until 20 years from now I get to exit. That really bothers me. I hate having a goal that I know once I accomplish, I'll be fine or I'll be content. That's not the way I operate. I never want to stop. Stopping to me is the biggest disease in the world. It's like cancer. And I know if I stop, I'll eventually kill myself. Why? Because I won't have a purpose in a game. And my game is to be the best in the world. And it's not just to be the best in the world for myself. It's not a selfish reason. The reason I want to be the best in the world is because I know personally there's so many problems across the world. And just like I was a young little Zain without a purpose, without an education, without a mentor, without someone guiding me in the right direction, there's billions of people on planet Earth that do not have direction and they need help. And they were put in an extremely disadvantaged situation. I want to go out there and I want to empower those people to get up off their ass and make it happen. And you, myself, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, no one will ever be able to alone solve those problems. It's going to take a lot of people that are extremely successful coming together to do that. And I just want to be a part of that.
And so going back to what you said that you had to go through a bunch of shit, right? And you go through these trials and tribulations, breaking through walls. But what are some examples of that? Like, what is a really tough time that you've been through? I'm sure you don't get to 400 million without some
Yeah.
huge setbacks. Do you have any examples of that?
Yeah. So you want earlier on or you want in my business career?
Let's start early.
Yeah. Early on, it was every day. It was just eating the next meal that was good. It was waking up every single day in a shitty apartment, walking outside. It was walking onto the bus and people making fun of me for the clothes I was wearing because we couldn't afford nice clothes. So I'm always wearing the shittiest of shit stuff, wearing old stuff, wearing stuff that's from, reused. And I would go through that every single day. And people would be like, Zane, you're this. Zane, you're that. Ha ha ha, you're poor. Ha ha ha. And I just remember these voices in my head. Now, a lot of people, they take this and they're like, oh my God, Zane, those people were so bad. How could they bully you? No, those people made my character. They made me stronger. I think it's okay to be bullied. Also, growing up, when I fucked up, what happened to me? I got my ass kicked. That was normal for me. My dad would always tell me, if you do this thing wrong, I will beat your ass. And that would stop me from doing those things. And sometimes I'd step out of line.
That's Muslim parents.
Yeah,
right there.
yeah. And he would kick my ass. And I had times where I had to stare at a wall for 4 hours. That was like one of his punishments. We had this like white shitty wall, and he would just make me stand up and stare up against a wall to go back and learn from my mistakes. And those things would happen. And eventually it wasn't that I didn't want to do the mistake. It was that I didn't want to stare at the wall for 4 hours. And that's what stopped me from doing it. So for me, my entire life has been struggles. It's been going through issues and problems. Probably the biggest catastrophe that I got hit with early on in life was when I was 15 years old. I got a call that my mom was sick. I didn't know what it was. Went to the hospital later to find out she fell to the floor, went to a hospital, was then airlifted to Mass General Hospital in Boston, ended up having an aneurysm and a hemorrhage, and she had a blood clot in her head the size of an orange. She had a 5% chance of survival. She ended up surviving, was 6 months out of it in a coma, woke up, and we had another 2 years of rehab, teaching her English again, teaching her how to drive again, teaching her names again. Now, thank God, she's in a great place, but that was a huge journey. That was a very big setback. A lot of people say, well, Zane, that's very tough. Of course it was tough. It wasn't just tough from the medical perspective and, potentially losing my mom. It's tough from the financial perspective too, because she was a big portion of our income. And then my dad had to spend time with her every day in the hospital, which affected his income being a taxi driver. He's not on a fixed wage. He only gets paid when he works. So our income in those years took the biggest hit. And that's when I had to really step up and say, Zane, you are the man of the house. You have to take care of the house while your dad's helping your mom's sick in the hospital. You are the only person that is going to be able to continue your family's legacy. And if you keep fucking up, the Jan family name is going to stop at you. Mm-hmm. You're the last person, and it's going to stop. You're going to ruin your family name. Or you can completely recreate and reinvent your family and be the start of one of the greatest dynasties. And that's how I always thought of it. I think of these family names all across the United States and the world that control different countries and are a part of revolutions. Then I think of myself and I'm like, I have no one in my lineage that's like that. Mm-hmm. Why don't I become the first person that starts that for my lineage and for the future Jans to come and, all the generations after me? So that really became a goal for me. Then when I got into business, of course, I faced my other problems, which was just basic daily rejection. Every single day knocking doors out there in the summer in the heat, people pulling a gun on you, people chasing you out, people calling the cops on you. I've had a gun pulled on me, I've had a knife pulled on me, and I've been chased outside of someone's house with a drill. I had a guy working in his house on a drill, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing at my door? And then he started chasing me with a drill. I had to run out. I've had dogs pulled out on me. Dude, I've been
you
through
guys
some
are crazy, man. You guys are
I've
door
knocked,
to door.
I've knocked, over 10,000 doors at minimum. I never counted, but at minimum, it's over 10,000 doors. So I've seen every type of situation that you can imagine. I've been in houses where I knocked the door and, the couple were arguing and they were fighting. Like, I've been through some crazy situations, but what you learn in those situations is you have to be calm.
Yep.
You have to be present, and you have to handle whatever comes in your way. You cannot be emotional. And the number one thing that I learned in bad situations, and it has been the number one thing that has helped me succeed in business, is keeping my poker face not ever getting emotional, and always making my decisions very logically, not letting emotions get into the way. And when you learn that discipline of not letting emotional things around you and these reactive things in your environment affect you, and you put all of your emphasis and your energy on just being you, being present in the moment, and solving problems, you will always achieve success.
Mm. And I actually have a funny story that popped up when you said that. I did door to door for these guys that were selling cable, and they would sell the direct TV,
Yeah.
and they would walk in. So the way they did it is they would put their foot in the door. And so when people who tried to close the door,
Yeah, it's a common thing.
they'd put their foot in the door, and then they'd say, no, actually, we're here to help you because you guys' cable is messed up and X, Y, and Z. And they would walk in and grab your TV and start going through and saying, oh, yeah, this is all messed up. Here's what we can do for you, blah, blah, blah. We're actually with the cable. They didn't even say they were with the company. They said they were with the actual cable installers.
Wow.
Right? And like, it was super sketchy. I worked with them for about one day.
Yeah, it sounds super sketchy.
I went to one woman's house. She had, she was sitting there and she was like nervous, and she was like this little poor Mexican lady. The guy walks in, he's like, oh yeah, we need to do this. We need to do this. And I'm looking at the wall, and I'm not trying to be judgmental, but her husband did not look like a nice guy. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Big dude, tatted up, looks scary as hell, okay? And I'm sitting there like, yo, and then I'm looking at the time, and it's like 5:45, and she's looking like this. Her eyes are darting around the room. And I'm like, hey, man, probably should just leave her alone, maybe go to the next house.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, no, man, we need to get this house.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, we need to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I learned two things. One, door-to-door sales is extremely difficult.
Correct.
And two, I don't know if I have that gumption to be able to sit through those situations, because some of those situations are gut-wrenching. But one thing I could say is that it doesn't surprise me that you could build a company worth $400 million if you can take rejection and do door-to-door sales for even more than a week.
Correct.
I
agree with you. It's very hard. And that's why people that do door-to-door the right way, they understand how hard it is. The problem with a lot of door-to-door salespeople is they never stop door-to-door. They never take those skill sets and move them a level up. They never go to create a business. They never go to actually apply that in their life. That's the problem with most door-to-door salespeople, is the buck stops at door-to-door, and that's all they do. And they either keep doing door-to-door or they end up quitting. It's one of those two things. Very rarely does someone break out of that and actually go into apply those same skill sets. But when you can be in those high-pressure situations, you can legitimately do anything. Anything. Yeah. It's there is nothing harder than being in that situation. Why? Because it's physically hard. You're knocking doors, you're walking outside. A lot of times in the summer, it's absolutely blazing hot. So you have 95 degree weather. You're sweating. You're knocking on a door where someone doesn't know who you are. So now you have to literally bring their guard down, calm them down from them freaking out and being reactive, and then pitch them on a product, get into their house, sell them that product, and then move on and continue to do that every single day.
So do you think that it was your upbringing that was so difficult that made the opportunity to make that kind of money just blindside you, where nothing else was bothering you? You're like, I don't care if somebody chases me with a drill.
I believe, especially men, I believe all men are created to go through struggle. I think that's just a normal thing. Mm-hmm. And growing up, I went through a lot of struggle, but I never viewed it as struggle. I viewed it as everyday life. So it's the same thing with knocking doors. I never have viewed knocking doors as a hard thing. It's always just been a struggle that's a part of every single day life. And to me, it was actually a blessing, because I went through so many hard times, and all I had to do to make 6 figures a year was just knock on doors. Now I have guys that knock doors that make 7 figures a year. They're multimillionaires knocking doors. They knock a lot of people's doors, and they open the door and they look down upon them. They're like, oh, another door-to-door salesman. Well, you're making $250,000 living in your $1 million home. Well, I got a guy knocking your door making $3.5 million this year.
That's insane.
He's making 10x what you're making, knocking a door. So for me, the actual reward is so far and so big, especially in the solar industry. The reward is so high. And just like anything in life, you have to pay the price in order to achieve success. A lot of people say, oh, yeah, well, door-to-door is hard. It is. But doing anything in life worth having is hard. Mm-hmm. It's not easy to build a business. You think door-to-door is hard. Building a business is just as hard. It might not be physically as hard. You might not be in those same weird situation in some stranger's room, but you're still doing something that's extremely hard. And you have to be able to apply yourself in those situations. And again, take that skill set from door to door and not be emotional. And that's what I've just been able to carry throughout my entire life, is not being emotional, because things happen every day to me. Every single day. There's a fire I got to put out. And there's a situation that I go through. But I always go back to, I've been through stuff that's 100 times harder, and I got to continue to stay with that mindset. So now, as I look at the future, you were asking about the future, I know I have a lot coming for me. Tons of bad things can happen. People are going to die in my life. I could be in trouble. More bad stuff could happen with my business. I could be in bad deals and lose money. Those things are going to happen, but I don't plan for them. I don't think about them. I prepare myself to be the best human being on planet Earth and the best man, so that no matter what situation comes in front of me, I'm able to handle that.
So do you think being coming from the immigrant background, you think that's played a big part as well?
Of course, because my entire life has been, you are different. I grew up in a town where, again, a lot of Irish people that migrated there. So they're not rich by any means. They're not like rich white kids, but they're like hood white kids. And, I'm colored in that situation. I grew up during 9/11. So you see, you're going to school, 9/11 just happens. And now all of a sudden, if you're of skin color, you look Arab or Muslim in any way, you're labeled a terrorist. And you're at a point where your teachers are even scared of you. And it's a really weird thing to have. But growing up in those situations, I was always the odd man out. I was always the black sheep. I was always the person that was different. And now when I look at it, I'm always the person that's different today, but I'm different in a different manner.
Yeah.
I'm not like a lot of people. I'm crazy. I'm a psychopath. And I love it. I embrace that every single day.
It's crazy. I just had Cody Sperber, clever investor. He said, I would have made a great serial killer.
Yeah.
He said, because I genuinely don't give a fuck about anything until I want what I want, and that's what I go for.
Correct.
And it's like, I don't know if that's exactly the best true choice of words, but it's like, what else can you, how else can you describe it?
Is he's just unemotional about situations, which is completely fine.
Right.
Being a serial killer or not is just based on what are your principles, your values.
What is your goal,
ethics.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
What's
if your goal is to like
kill? Your goal is to kill people.
people.
You could be rich and be a horrible rich person.
Yeah, but if your goal is to crush a sales target and that's all you're focused on, you're gonna still kill it as well.
Correct. And then that's like base level goals. For me, my goal is so big that nothing even compares to it.
What is your goal?
The richest person on planet Earth.
That's just like
100%. And it's not because I want to have M's in my bank account, B's in my bank account, T's in my bank account.
Yeah, you already have a lot.
No, that has nothing to do with money. I have money today. I'm fine. I could not do podcasts again. I could not ever post another thing on social media again.
You could disappear.
I will always have money. Yeah, I'm always going to have money. Money is not the issue here. It's power. What's power to people? People don't know what power is. There's a lot of rich people I know. There's guys I know, $100 million. They don't understand what power is. I understand what power is.
What is power?
I've been to communist countries.
Okay.
I know what happens in other countries. Communist countries, you don't get to succeed. You don't have a choice. There's no decision you make where, I'm going to break away from this communist government and make money, unless you leave the country.
Right.
You have no decision. You have no control. Your fate is picked for you. You show up and they tell you today you're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be a mechanic, or you're going to be an engineer. And I believe there's a lot of people out there that don't care. Simply, there's people with a lot of money. They're set, they're comfortable, and they're fine. Their family is taken care of, and they don't care enough about the future.
So
I care about the future.
So what does that mean when you get to that point, right? Where you're
There's a table. I was just seeing this. I don't know if you know George Soros, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's very known for being a globalist, massive Dem funder. Well, his son, I believe his name is Alex Soros, has now gotten his dad's fortune. His dad has now officially passed over a lot of the fortune. And he's going to be taking over for his dad in political things. And he had a quote the other day where he said, if you thought my father was political, I'm going to be a lot more political. And if you go on his Instagram, he brags and boasts about being with the globalist leaders of the world every single day. Has pictures with all of them, very proud of it, and he wants to continue to push his agenda. I do not think that these are good people.
Right.
And I believe that this will continue to happen across planet Earth. And the only way to have a seat at the table and be able to fight those people is to have an insane amount of money, because I don't have the connections. I don't have the political background. I don't have the family to do it. The only way that I could ever have a seat at the fucking table is with money.
So it's almost like you have a personal vendetta against, things that you didn't have control over when you were younger.
Correct. And I know how important it is. That's really the biggest thing. I look at kids and that's what worries me the most.
Mm-hmm.
You go across the world, like, they don't have opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
There's no opportunity for kids. Kids wake up every day and, again, their fate was picked for them. They don't have a choice like you and I did growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I was very lucky to be in this country. I was very lucky to be an American. I'm proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, they don't have that. They never had that ability to just say, oh, one day I could just be a free-thinking individual. And I could go and I could build a business and I could be successful and I could set up my family. They don't have that. Power of choice is so important. It's not about money. It's not about cars. It's not about planes. It's not about watches. It's about truly making a difference. And for me, that difference is so big. $1 billion won't make that difference. I could be a billionaire with $1 billion net worth, and I will not be rich enough to have a seat at that table. Just FYI. I legitimately need hundreds of billions of dollars to make a massive impact. Look at Elon Musk. I believe he's one of the few good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of billions of dollars in net worth. He's trying to make a change. He's making a huge dent, and he's still suppressed and held behind. He's still trying and fighting, and it's not easy.
So can we
need 10 of those.
Can we transfer this? I want to ask you a question. So if you're talking about the globalist elites, et cetera, but let's talk about baseline reality for most people, right? Why do you think that other people are not building? You know, like you said in one of your clips, a lot of people have $1 million that'll never see $5 million. Donald Trump went from $1 million loan to $1 billion. Well, first off, why is that? Second off, why are other people not able to achieve that?
Because they were never told that they even had the choice. Americans every single day across the world have to make decisions that they don't agree with. Why? Because it's what's forced and imposed upon them. You think there's doctors out there that didn't want to get the COVID vaccine, or nurses that didn't want to get the COVID vaccine? Of course.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many of them did it because they would lose their job if they didn't? You know how many, Jamie Foxx, great example. I don't know too much about the situation. All I know is that I hung out with Jamie Foxx for 3 days last year in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great time with him. Unbelievable dude. Very charismatic, very cool. Recently found out he had a medical condition. They don't know what it is. His family hasn't told anyone. They're keeping it super under wraps, but they say that he had a stroke and he lost his vision. And they don't know
Completely?
his state. Yeah. And they don't know his state and what's going on.
Is this right now going on?
And he recently had to take the vaccine for a movie he was filming because they were forcing him to do it.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, I'm not super conspiracy driven. Seriously, that's not who I am.
Right.
But these things are happening. And I'm smart enough to know that it's only a conspiracy until it starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I witnessed everyone say that these things were conspiracies, and then people's views have started to change.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I believe that people should be free thinkers and should be allowed to make their own decisions. And right now, the world is stopped from that. Right now, there's a halt on the world from making their own decisions. The problem is most people don't even make enough to pay their own bills.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't even have the ability to
think about other problems.
that stuff.
Yeah.
They have and I understand that. That's how I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
We had no ability to think about the future, someone else's problems, or the government. We got to shut up and listen to the government because that's our life. Again, my parents got government assistance. If we shot back at the government, they'll take away our government assistance. They're the ones feeding us every day. We have to listen to them. We have to buckle up and we have to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens to Americans every single day. They are not free thinkers because they're not allowed to be. Because if they do, they're going to stop getting a paycheck. So when you have money, the biggest luxury that you have is no one can tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
They can't tell you what to do. And most people are comfortable with that. They just want to keep their money, shut the fuck up, because they don't want the IRS coming after them. They don't want the FTC, the SEC, the federal government. They don't want anyone coming after them because the more money you make, that target on your back continues to get bigger. No one cares about the guy that makes $250,000 a year. That guy's fine. He's not a threat to anyone in society. That's just another person walking through life that makes some money. They care about the people that start to make hundreds of millions of dollars and then billions. Those are the people with the biggest targets on their back. And every single person, they have the ability to shut that person up, put them in jail, make something happen with their business career, lock them up, whatever it may be. It's so easy to put anyone in jail. I could be put in jail, guarantee you. I'm a great person. I'm extremely ethical. I do business the right way. But they could do that to me if they wanted to. If I had a big enough target on me and they wanted to shut me up, they will find something and have an ability for me to do that. Mm-hmm. So for me, I never, ever doubt that. And I know that that's a thing. And I know that I can't go out there today and make a big enough difference on my own. I need to be far more successful. Elon Musk is one of the few people in the world with enough money to where it will be very, very, very hard for them to shut him down. And they're trying. Believe me, they're trying. But it will be very hard for them to do it. The problem is he can't do it alone. He needs more people up there doing it with him. And I believe that's my mission every single day. That's why I fight. Move humanity forward. Fuck all the other shit. Move humanity forward. I'm a lot, people tell me, Zain, you're selfish because you have money and you want these things. I had a chick comment on my post the other day and she goes, Zain, you're so selfish going on your private jets, living in your Miami mansion, going to your Miami clubs. She goes, why are you so selfish? It's a good life to be able to make six figures and live happily ever after. I commented back and I said, you wanting to make six figures to live happily and ever after is the most selfish thing ever. I don't make money for me. I have enough money. I make money to, number one, put food in other people's mouths. Mm-hmm. Think about how many people I'm directly responsible for. You have 600 employees. You have 3,000 salespeople in 71 companies. Amongst that, if you do the math, there's at least 25 to 30,000 people out there that I am directly responsible for them waking up every single day and putting food in their mouth. That's the way I look at it. If I fuck up and I fail and I bitch, I'm fucking up all of those people. That's my responsibility. Fuck me. I could eat ramen noodles. I could sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
I don't care about me. This is about other people. And my biggest issue is why is it only 30 or 35,000 people directly connected to those maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people that work with me? Why is it not 8 billion people?
So how do you see that how do you see that opportunity going forward? You said you want to go international?
Correct. So if you just look at the United States, there's about 130 million homes. Of those 130 million homes, there's about 85 million single-family detached homes. That's our main product customer. It's going to a single-family home and turning them into a power producer instead of just a consumer. We want them to become their own self-regulated utility. Mm-hmm. That's the way we look at it. We want to deregulate them from the government's control and the government-owned, investor-owned monopoly utilities. That's what we're going after, and that's what we fight every single day. So the first biggest goal is going to be to conquer the United States, and you got to do it with a good product. There's a lot of ways to make a lot of money, but you got to do it the right way, and I'm a big believer in that. If you do things the wrong way, it will catch up to you. So my mission has always been to do it the right way, and I'm very lucky that I have a vehicle to do the best for planet Earth, do something that God is going to be proud of while still making a lot of money, and having a vehicle that is big enough to actually make me the richest person on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. Just by helping every family in the United States go solar, I can be a trillionaire. Just by doing it in the United States. Forget about the rest of the world. There's a population of, I think it's 350 million people in the United States out of 8 billion people in the world. If I can just help those 350 million people, I can be a trillionaire, let alone the 8 billion people across the world. So my vehicle is big enough to do it. Mm-hmm. I just need to move faster to be able to expand that vehicle in the United States and then eventually globally.
So for everybody else who's listening, what do you see? What do you say to them as far as finding a vehicle? Because you got your vehicle, they're looking for their vehicle.
Find a vehicle that's big enough. What's your vehicle and how big is it? If you sell coffees every day, you might be passionate about selling coffees, but what's your goal? Now, I'm not here to tell everyone that you have to have my goal. My goal is so great. I want to change the world. I need a vehicle that big. But what's your goal? Maybe your goal is just to move into a $2 million house, so selling coffees could work. You might have a big enough vehicle to do it. You could stretch it out and you might have a big enough vehicle. Mine is to save the world. I can't sell coffees. I can't sell cars. I can't sell homes. I can't sell insurance. Those vehicles aren't big enough for me to be that, to be the most powerful person on planet Earth. It's impossible. So my goal is so big. That's why my vehicle is aligned. I can't sell other shit. It doesn't make sense for me to get there. So you have to figure out what's your goal. You want to be like me? Well, 3, 4, or 5 things that you could probably do across planet Earth. There's not many things. Just think about what is something that every single person on planet Earth needs. How can you be a part of those transactions?
Right.
That's it. And if you don't want something that big, that's completely fine. There's not many of me. I'm one of few. I truly believe that. I do not think there's many people that think that long-term are that crazy because I'm willing to give up my entire life towards this mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about money. It's a mission. And I'm very mission-driven.
Yeah.
So other people just, what do you want to do, dude? Like, seriously, like, it's just that. You want to live in a $1 million home and drive a $100,000 car and just live a nice, modest lifestyle? Well, there's a lot of things you could do. Find out what you want to do and then reverse engineer what vehicles can actually supply the income for that.
Right. I mean, let me ask you this. What are some of the influential forces in your life that have helped you get to where you're at today?
People, forces, what do you mean by that?
When I say that, I mean like who really has inspired you, right?
There's no one person that's inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
What I look at is the greatest people on planet Earth. Who were they? What have they done? Whether they're alive or whether they're dead. What did George Washington do? That's what I'm looking at. What is Elon Musk doing today? That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at people that have been a part of creating dynasties and changing the way that the future was. What did Thomas Edison do? That's what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that if you want to achieve whatever it is, you have to go to the people that have done it at the highest level. If you want to achieve the highest level of fitness, Arnold might be a great person to study.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to achieve the highest level of success on planet Earth, you might want to go to Elon. It depends what you want and what you want to do. So to me, my mentors have always been people that have created revolutions, that have been a part of changing the world, and that have been the top at the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, again, there's not many people that I can look up to today. I mean, Elon and Jeff are 2 people that I can look up to. That's about it. And how do I do that? I study the hell out of them. I don't have direct relationships with them. I don't have direct contacts with them, but I study the hell out of them. Every book that's about them, every video that's about them, every news piece or article that comes out about them, I am studying what their moves are, and I'm mimicking those moves.
What about really early
to get there?
What about really early on in your company, right? I mean, you said you're putting out fires left and right. You've probably had moments where you were
early on. It was just survival.
Yeah.
Right. It was just making money and survival. It was keeping the company going. That's all it was early on. This bigger, grandiose vision really came over the last 2 to 3 years. That's like as I got bigger, as I made more money, as the company's scaled, as my income is scaled. Now I actually have the ability to say fuck you to everything and go after what I want. And I dig down deeply, and I made a decision about 2 to 3 years ago where I said, I no longer want to live a comfortable lifestyle. I'm happy to go along for the wild ride. People always tell me, like, Zain, why do you create content? Rich people don't need to create content. Successful people don't need to create content. Why do you need to do it? Like, do you have a business behind this? Do you want to sell a course? I'm like, dude, no. It's not why I create content. It's not why I'm on here doing a podcast. Like, why am I in Arizona right now doing a podcast? This doesn't make me any money.
Mm-hmm.
I have nowhere to send the podcast viewers right now to go and buy something. Why am I doing this? I'm spreading information. I'm telling the world what I'm going to do. And then they're going to watch me do it. Everything I've ever done, I tell other people before. And I say, watch me do it. When I built my solar company, first thing I said is I told everyone, watch what I'm going to do. A lot of people didn't believe. Some people did. And then they saw me actually take the actions to go and do it. The reason I do this is because people need to hear this message. And if I can just get other people to find themselves and get onto the journey, I believe I am a force for good and I am helping planet Earth. That is my full focus.
And so what would, going into that, what would you say is your best? What would you say are a few of your best life advice, pieces of life advice?
Discipline. 100% of the time it's discipline. You have to be able to control yourself emotionally and have discipline. That is so important. No matter what happens in my life, I will continue to maintain discipline, and I will not let reactive things that go on in my life that create emotional sparks affect me or change the way that I produce every single day.
Mhm.
A lot of people, they have the ability to be successful. They have the resources, they have the tools, they have everything that they need to achieve success in any way that they want. The only thing that they are missing is discipline and being able to control their emotions. I do not let anything get in the way. If someone in my life is having a bad day, that will not stop me from having a good day.
Mhm.
If something in my life goes on, that will not stop me from having a good day. If I get back home right now and my house is completely burned in fire and I've lost every single thing, I will not stop that. I will not let that stop me from having a good day.
Mhm.
So I believe truly the only reason that people fail is because they let emotions and other people and third-party factors in their life get in the way and stop them from progressing and moving forward. So you want to be successful? Let's break it down into 3 things. Number 1 is discipline, okay? You have to have discipline. If you don't have discipline, you will not be successful. What is discipline? Discipline is the ability, no matter how you feel, to show up every single day and consistently do the habits that will progress and move you and your life forward. Number 2 is emotions. You have to be able to have the ability to control your emotions because he who angers you controls you. That is the number 1 fact of life. If you allow people to go out there and, anger you and piss you off and make you, feel angry, or in the other vein, if you allow people to make you super happy all the time.
Yeah.
I get very, very skeptical about people that just walk around life smiling every day. How you doing, man? I'm just super fucking happy. I get very skeptical about those people. I do not want emotion, good or bad. I want to stay even keel.
Yeah.
Do not get emotional. That is when you are in your best mental state and when you make your best decisions. Okay, so you have to be able to conquer that. And then we go to number 3. Now, number 3 for me is extremely important. You have to be able to go out there. You have to be able to take these things, but you have to do them in a right way. You have to have ethics. If you don't have ethics, these things can go down the wrong way. You have to have principles. You have to have values.
Mm-hmm.
I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I don't go out and party. I don't go and do crazy shit. I have a good time. I have fun times. I do stuff. But 99.9999% of my time is spent building.
Yeah.
I'm doing things that are progressing me forward. And I have principles. I will not lie. I will not steal. I will not cheat. I've had so many opportunities put right in front of me where I could make millions of dollars being a part of an industry or doing something that I don't believe in. So many opportunities. I got an opportunity one time from a guy that's big in OnlyFans. He does OnlyFans creation, and he was like, dude, Zain, look at these numbers. You could be a part of this opportunity. I just need an investor in this thing. Guarantee you'd make 5-6 million this year. You don't got to do anything. I have the key to everything. I just need help with this and this. Said no. Why? Because it's dirty money. I don't want to be a part of dirty money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need more money.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of something that's bad.
Yeah.
I want to do things that are right and that are good for the world and good for humanity. And I really care about ethics. So I believe if you lock those 3 things in together, you will achieve success no matter what.
I also think it was Warren Buffett who also said that life is not also about what you say yes to, but success is also more of what you say no to, right? I feel like we're in this society where people see like there's an opportunity, make money online, do this, do that. I think people and weigh in on this. I think people are way too grasping to the only thing that they see as possible. And they're just desperate to get anything rolling. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with
It's
having
just temptation.
Right.
There's so many ways to make easy money. Look at what strippers do. Look at what hookers do. Look at what drug dealers do.
Yeah.
Look at
And
what people that run OnlyFans agencies do. There's so many ways to make dirty money, and it's really easy.
Yeah, you did it. I did it. I did it too in high school.
We had temptations, and we've been killed by those temptations. But today, I am old enough, I am wise enough, I'm mature enough to know that those temptations are bad. And the reason that God has put us on this planet is to be able to fight those temptations.
Yeah, it's not worth it too.
Correct. Temptations are actually a test. That's all they are. God will always put temptations in front of you.
Mhm.
Are you going to cave into it? And that's your discipline and character. That's all that's going to keep you away from that temptation. So if you want to be ultra successful, there's going to be a lot of temptation. I know a lot of guys with a lot of money. I know billionaire friends. They don't always do the right things. They cheat on their wives. They have multiple women. They go out there and they lie to people and they do bad business deals and they don't pay their taxes. I believe no matter what you do in this world, if you put yourself in a bad position where you are doing something that, again, is dirty, is evil, is unethical, it will always come back and hurt you.
Yeah.
And you will feel like a piece of shit no matter what anyone says. Might look like it's pleasurable in that moment, but it will come back and it will haunt you. I would rather live every single day knowing that I'm doing the right things. That's what I want. That's full mental clarity. And my goal, again, is so big that I don't have time for temptations and distractions.
Right. So, I mean, man, there's a lot. If you were to give advice to young kids, you said you want to spread it. Let's do that, and then we'll wrap up. But if you were to give advice to the youth of today, like let's say we're gonna put this clip out on TikTok, what would you tell them?
Go out there and do the most uncomfortable thing that you can possibly imagine. Go to the gym and have the hardest set. Go out there and sell and knock doors every single day, even though you think it fucking sucks. Go out there and avoid all temptation. When your friend invites you to that party, don't go to that party. When your friend tells you to smoke that blunt, put that blunt down and tell them to fuck off. When your friend goes and tells you that you want to go and rob this place, or you want to egg this house, or you want to go and key someone's car, stop doing that thing. Every single day, kids have temptations, because I was one of those kids.
Mhm.
I've keyed cars. I've egged houses. I've broken windows. I've robbed people. I've stolen from stores. I've punched people in the face. I've lied to my own best friends and family. I've done every type of drug that you can imagine. I've sold drugs. I've robbed drugs. I've done everything that you can imagine. I did most of that stuff under the age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
Those were all temptations. God testing me, and I failed every test. Do not fall into temptation. Be an ethical human being and a productive member of society. Figure out how to make money and do it with a purpose. And I promise you, you will be successful. And just know, if it's hard, that's fucking good. Just keep going.
Nice. I like that. So everybody, this is Zain Jan. You can find him at ZAINJAN, Zain Jan, Better Earth. If you need solar, contact him as well.
Love it, man. I appreciate you having me on today, brother. It was an awesome podcast.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And we're going to post this within a few months. So
Cool. Love
alrighty.
it, man.
Thank you so much,
Awesome,
man.
brother.
Appreciate it.